Happy Monday, everybody. This is Business Pants. I am Damian Rollis. That is Matt Mascardi. We are Free Float Media.
It is
we are experiencing
not
a
happy
million
Monday.
one
It is not a
technical
happy
difficulty
Monday
today. No?
It's a crappy Monday. Do you like that punnage?
I'm straining to hear Matt today, so this is going to be an exercise in bionic hearing.
Which you have.
Yeah, luckily I signed up for that through HBO Max last week, so I'm all set to go.
That came with your that came with your thing, huh?
Yeah. Not only do I have HBO Max 5 months before anyone else does, I also I opted for the bionic hearing package.
It's part of the streaming wars.
Yeah, so we're good. All right, there's a lot of unanswered questions tech-wise. And I'll just say this to our listeners at home, that I know we have listeners, and I applaud you and I thank you. I'm not sure we have viewers, despite our daily efforts to stream live every day, Monday through Thursday, I should say, at noon. So I'm not going to worry about it, Matt.
We have viewers and listeners.
We have viewers?
Throngs.
Okay. So to the viewers, I say sorry. We're going to work on this. To the listeners, I say hello and welcome to Monday, November 11th, 11/11, Veterans Day here in the U.S. I say we begin the show, Matt, unless you want to add something pithy.
I want for pith. So let's do the agenda. What's on the show today?
We're taking a peek into our wars, specifically the newest Cold War, China versus the U.S. We're going to look at big data. There's a little bit of talk of some spying and espionage going in there.
That's sexy.
Yeah. We have yet another wonderful question from a listener. So we're going to dive into our mailbag and talk about Say on Pay, which a lot of you probably don't understand. So we'll explain that later. In Biz Nuggets, we have a few stories just about overall jerkiness. We update some of our billionaire threads, our whiny billionaires, because we have to, and then just one extra little tidbit from Boeing, because I just can't quit Boeing. And finally, in Matt Makes, I don't know what's going on in Matt Makes.
Matt's making some money this week.
Good, because I'm not yet. Okay, let's get at it.
Are we ready for this?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna hear the harp today, but let's do it.
Is that really a tragedy if you don't hear the harp?
No.
All right, here it is.
Well, I heard a mosquito, so I'm gonna say that's the same thing. Let's go to wars, Matt. Let's talk about our new favorite Cold War, the U.S. versus China. So Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba, which is translated into English as Amazon, set a sales record on Singles Day, the world's largest 24-hour shopping event, with more than $30 billion in sales. For a point of reference, Amazon's 2019 Prime Day sales were a paltry $7 billion. Shame, Amazon. In related news, Chinese apps continue to rake in revenue from American users, up over 65% from last year. So here's the deal, Matt. Facebook gets to do whatever it wants because all Zuck has to say is, what about China, huh? You want China to enslave us? Meanwhile,
Maybe.
Apple and the NBA are telling everyone to shut up because there's money to be made in China. And at the same time, boomer senators are freaking out about TikTok because, again, the Chinese are coming for us to enslave our robot vacuums. Matt, it's exhausting. Where does it all end?
Does it? Does it all end?
Look, go with this wherever you want.
Well, the thing is, for all of the fear,
there's a lot of it.
Which there's a lot of. the almighty dollar, or in this case, the yuan, the almighty dollar signs, Alibaba just demonstrated exactly why the NBA or Apple or Activision, Blizzard, right? Why they're all
Yep.
sort of bent over a barrel when it comes to China, because they desperately want to see a number like 30 billion with a B in a
Yeah.
single day of
Right.
revenue. That's a lot of billion.
So okay, so what is so are you calling bullshit on the boomer senators? Should we be worried about apps and companies controlled by China, or is that just like are they just stoking fear? I mean, what is this?
Well, I mean, isn't it? It's like it's part of the Cold War argument, right? Like we are ceding in 19 the early mid 1980s.
Yeah.
Japan was China, where
Yeah.
everything, the whole conversation was Japan, Japan, Japan. They are taking all the electronics. They are going to use robots to enslave us. They've
Yeah.
figured it. China's just the new version of that. Only there is some merit to that whole argument that boomers have about China stealing the IP of US companies, because US companies sort of stupidly have been chasing the lowest amount of cost and the highest amount of revenue. And that means shipping everything to manufacturing in China, where they
Hmm.
then stole the everything that we sent to them. That's a thing, but
Okay.
it's sort of, it almost feels like a karmic experience to me.
All right. So let me ask you this. So as we know, the Japanese fear of the '80s is completely gone, aka things like Sony suck now, right? So was that U.S. policy that got us there, like regulations, or was it simply just the U.S. did better? Like what,
I'm not sure it was U.S.
right?
policy. I mean,
So
Japan basically went through like stagflation. Basically, they went sort of nowhere ish. Well, I think that,
because of competition,
but yeah, it was. I mean, it's competitive fire for the U.S.
right?
companies, and I think there's some economics. Like, I'm no economist. Let's
No,
actually
you're definitely not.
put on the table.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a semi-smart, literate pseudo moron.
Okay.
Would that be right?
I don't even know what that means. So I'm gonna guess that you're pretty high on the IQ chart on
Oh
that
well,
one.
I'm not gonna go out there and say I know exactly the economic developments of Japan and
All
China
right.
in the
Well, you have
early
30
1980s.
seconds to be smart, so get at it.
But I do know that the fear is exactly the same. I do know
Yeah.
that the end result was, not the apocalypse. I think
Sure.
I do think there what makes China US different from then is the
Hmm.
fact that we are perfectly happy to give all of our secrets to autocratic single rulers of tech companies in the US versus an
Right.
autocratic ruler in China. I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're right. I mean, obviously, it's a different ballpark now with all the data. But I'm calling a little bit of bullshit in general. I mean,
Oh,
let's just do better, America. Let's just do better.
bold
All right.
words from Damian
Let's move
Rollis.
on to big data. God, that's stupid hard. Even when I can't hear things very well, despite my bionic hearing, thank you HBO Max, I still hate the harp. Um, big data. Here's what I want to talk about today: spying, espionage, and tomfoolery. Three of my favorite things.
Do you do those
Um,
regularly? Is that like a thing for you?
so let's start with the whole spying thing. So big data social media providers like Facebook, Twitter, even LinkedIn. Yes, I said LinkedIn. It's becoming easy pickings, right? These companies have done all the work for the spies. All the spy has to do is break into this incredible safe of data and just grab wads of $20 bills, right? I mean, it's like the equivalent of there are just three giant banks in the world and all the cash is there. So it's like here, bank robbers, come and grab some data. Um, So here are the headlines. This is why I'm talking about this, because I'm starting to mumble. LinkedIn's unique combination of professional information and implicit promise of financial gain makes it the perfect place for foreign intelligence services to dig for assets. And two, the Justice Department has charged two former Twitter employees with spying for Saudi Arabia, in part by digging into user accounts on the service. So I ask you, Matt, is this fast becoming the most compelling reason to break up big data? Could it be?
Oh,
Why not?
I think there's three elements to this, and we definitely will talk about this more.
Yeah.
Because
Well, let's talk about it more right now. We
but
3.5 minutes more.
but the first element is the value of the data, right? Because you just made the point that it's like stuffing $20 bills, like the giant, like a bank vault, right? But
Yeah.
banks get regulated like a bank, and
Right?
big data does not get that
No.
so much.
No, because China's coming.
But I think no one can agree on how much all of that data is really worth, but we know it's worth something, including the users of these things who give all these services all of the data for free and get nothing for it except to say, to tweet out stupid memes like all
Yeah.
day.
Or they get to argue with their racist relatives.
There's a place for that. It's called
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. Just go to your
That's true.
Thanksgiving, local Thanksgiving, and you can do that.
Yeah.
Number two is the value of data protection, because it was not 4 or 5 years ago that JP Morgan, their CEO, who was on 60 Minutes,
Yeah.
who
We're talking about that later.
we
Yeah.
need to talk about that.
Yeah,
Who was
we
on
are.
60 Minutes. Jamie
Jamie
Dimon
Dimon.
was complaining to the U.S. government during the Obama administration. They were pleading for help with data protection, right? Like
Right.
they couldn't figure they were basically saying, please help us keep data private. And number three, which brings up the third part of that, which is who is responsible for the data? Because all of the tech companies, have all these privacy platitudes, but they
Right.
simultaneously say we're not publishers, we're just a platform, it's not really up to us. Like your data, you own your data, but not really. We own it and we monetize it.
Right.
So
Well,
all of those
two things.
things
Yeah.
lead to, spies. It's not that hard.
Okay, but I think are you avoiding the bigger question here, which is that is it a problem where, potentially three corporations have these just huge stockpiles of data? I mean,
What are you short? What do
couldn't
you
you
want? A
make the
short
case
answer?
that
The
if you
short answer
broke
is
up these couldn't you make the case if
obviously.
you broke up these companies and the data was in like 35 different pots, that it wouldn't become a target for espionage? Or is that not the concern here?
No, that's the concern,
Right.
because we haven't solved the three other things, which is how
Okay.
much is the data worth, how
Right.
much is it worth to protect it, and who the hell is going to protect it. If you
Yeah.
can't answer those three other things, not only is it a problem that three corporations own everything about you, but it's a problem that no one knows how much everything about you is worth, whether it's worth spending the money to protect you, and who gets fucked if they lose everything.
Sounding pretty chipper today, Matt.
It's Monday Dystopia Day, apparently.
All right. I think clearly this is something that we're going to come back to, as you said earlier.
All right, let's put some time on the clock and let's go somewhere else, because I am ready. I'm ripping right now.
All right, good. Let's go into our new and very popular segment called Viewer Mail, or whatever it's called, mailbag.
The mailbag.
Yeah, the mailbag. Okay. So, I'm going to repeat. These are actual questions. We are not writing these ourselves. Okay, we don't work for corporations anymore, so we don't do a lot of writing of bullshit. Okay, so these are actual questions from listeners, and as always, I read them verbatim. Okay, I don't fix grammar. So if you want to look smart in front of your friends and family, get your shit done right. All right. Okay, this question. Okay, I don't get this one, Matt. You have to help me here. This person wants to remain anonymous, which I find slightly insulting, but whatever. I respect all of our listeners equally,
No,
so
they didn't
I still
request
love
to
you,
be
whoever you are.
anonymous.
What?
I think we do not want to be one of the 3 corporations who owns your name and then publishes
Okay,
it
but
to spies.
it's 2019. Why can't this person make up a stupid name like
Okay, so Stink
like
Cat
business
43.
pants? Okay. What is it?
Stinky Cat 43.
Okay. All right. I will say this though, I do happen to know that this anonymous person, Stinky Cat 43, is a woman, and I just said that to show off because I want to show off how diverse
I
our,
also
our
happen to know she's a
listenership is.
fucking
Okay,
genius. So
yeah, we
it's a
we
good
have a
question.
diverse listenership. All right, people.
One
All
woman
right, here
listens.
it is. Here it is. I hope you're paying attention. What are say on pay votes, and why haven't they been effective at solving some of the most egregious payouts, pay structure, like the ones you highlighted this week for Boeing and McDonald's CEOs?
So I'm going to throw this back at you in a second.
Oh, okay. I wasn't even paying attention. All right.
To
Yeah.
your own
Okay.
reading. Okay, but I'll
ready.
take first stab. Okay.
Yeah.
Because say on pay votes, every investor, I'll do some background. Investors, particularly in the US, have a thing called a say on pay vote. If you own shares of a company, you can actually vote those shares once a year or once periodically about how much an executive gets paid. You can basically yay or nay. Yeah, we like that, how much they're getting paid, or no, we don't like how much they're getting paid. Very, very simple. However, the key part of that is these are advisory votes. So it's, yeah, we like how much you're getting paid. Not that it matters because you don't have to listen to us. Or, no, not so good. Not that it matters because you don't have to listen to us. That, I think, in a nutshell, is why no one really cares to vote say on pay in a meaningful way. That's sort of changing, though. Why don't you take it? Oh, see, time on the clock.
That's classic. Can I just say it's classic Matt Moscardi? He passes the question to me, but then filibusters during the entire time slot.
I was answering the question.
All right, I'm going to extend the time here so that I can act smart. But unfortunately, you basically said what I was going to say, which is that they're not binding votes. They're meaningless. I mean, at least here in the United States, they're completely toothless. So even if over 50% of the voters say no, it doesn't matter. But in reality, a lot of the companies, they do listen. They will sort of tinker with the pay package if the shareholders are upset. But I think that the problem really is that at this point in time, the bar is set so incredibly high for CEOs that even if you tinker down and adjust a little bit, it's not really going to make much of a difference. And I think the biggest problem, which we hammer here, is that most of these boards, especially boards like Boeing and McDonald's, as Matt pointed out very well last week, these boards are, the CEOs are surrounded by their buddies. And you see this even more on pay committees, where the committees themselves are stacked with current and former CEOs. So I think that in general, like, there's just a problem from the beginning, right? So that even if the votes, even if people say no, these pay packages stink, it's not like there's no alternative presented, really, right? I mean, the pay committee is just going to get back at it and rewrite something for the next year. That's a whole year you have to wait, blah 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 blah. There's no process set into place to make this the shareholder vote effective.
I would say, though, that the say on pay votes do have
Yeah.
one meaning, which is you could think of them as a forward indicator of how much investors hate the fucking board.
Yeah, that's true. It's all, yeah. No,
That's
you're right.
kind of all it is.
But it's a good question, and it's something where the U.S. greatly lags, especially our European friends. Where in a lot of the countries, the votes are very binding.
Oh, see,
So
that's dropping knowledge.
yeah, all right. We've run out of overtime there, so let's get at it. Let's get out of our mailbag. Let's close up the mailbag.
Close the mailbag, put time on the clock. Let's go to, what are we going to?
Biz nuggets. Yeah. Biz nuggets, everybody. Today in jerk behavior. All right, we're starting off with some jerky behavior, which I know Matt likes.
Love jerks.
Number one, U.S. financial regulators have opened an investigation into claims Apple's credit card offered different credit limits for men and women following complaints from even Apple's co-founder, Steve Wozniak, that all algorithms used to set limits might be inherently biased against women, Matt.
This shocks me considering that Amazon was using facial recognition that singled out, Congress people as convicts, and there have been bots put on Twitter that immediately go racist. It shocks me that an algorithm could be biased.
Uh, Sarcasm aside, it should shock you. All right. Number two, Facebook issued an apology last Friday following an anonymous blog post complaining about a racist culture toward Black, Hispanic, female, Asian employees at the social media company. In the post, anonymous Facebook employees detail a number of racist incidents at the company. Okay, Matt, put on your Simon Cowell chin. Here's the apology. I want you to grade it after I'm done reading it. Okay, this is the Facebook apology. You ready?
Oh, hit me.
Yeah. No one at Facebook or anywhere should have to put up with this behavior. We are sorry. It goes against everything that we stand for as a company. We're listening and working hard to do better. What do you think, Matt?
On a scale of Mark Zuckerberg could care less to Mark Zuckerberg doesn't care, I think that falls somewhere squarely closer to Mark Zuckerberg could care less.
Okay. Next, in Japan, this story bothers me. Companies have been banning eyewear for female employees for a variety of reasons,
I saw this.
including the belief that glasses wearing shop assistants gave a cold impression. Okay. So I have two possible solutions, Matt. Well, three if I include removing sexist bullshit from the Japanese culture. But forget that.
Okay.
First,
we'll table that one.
Set women's glasses on fire so that shop assistants give a warm impression. That's my first solution. And two, build female robots with perfect vision. What do you think, Matt? Am I ready to work at McKinsey?
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Number two is a viable option.
Yeah, I think you're right, unfortunately.
I do think, dear Japan, you have a labor problem. This is not how you solve it.
Yeah. Yeah, you also have a jerk problem, Japan. I mean, this one doesn't read right. All right. Speaking of jerks, here's a Boeing tidbit that I couldn't really resist. In a move that will likely save Boeing millions of dollars, the company is aiming to move 737 MAX victim lawsuits abroad. When asked by Congress a few weeks ago if Boeing was working to get the lawsuits transferred to Indonesia from the U.S., CEO Dennis Muhlenberg said, and I quote, "I'm just not familiar with the details of that." Yeah, well, come on. This guy's like a parody of something.
What does he know?
I don't know. And the reporting here from the New York Times, which is good, is that there's been 6 months of lawsuits where Boeing has stated its intention to take this out of the U.S. to save money. So this is just nonsense talk.
At what point does someone say, "You should know something, right?"
Yeah. How about just here's a pad of paper and a pencil. What do you know,
Just,
Jerky?
just can you please write down the things you do know? So
Yeah.
we'll just only ask you about those things.
All right, let's finish our greasy bag of biz nuggets by catching up on our popular whiny billionaires segment. I'll try to go through these quickly. First, billionaire Bloomberg is donning his gold plated Spider Man suit as he enters his diamond encrusted hat into the ring of 483 Democratic contenders in the U.S. presidential election. Matt, what do you say?
Oh man, another old white billionaire to save us all.
Yeah, I think that's enough. Okay, number two, whiny, crying billionaire number one, Leon Cooperman, who hates Elizabeth Warren but loves insider trading, says he will support billionaire Bloomberg. No shock there. Our third whiny billionaire biz nugget, a WeWork shareholder is suing the company over the $1.7 billion failure package for Adam Newman, accusing Newman and WeWork investor SoftBank of abusing their control of the company to sign off on the deal at the expense of smaller shareholders. Of course, WeWork called the claims meritless
Meritless.
because she must be crazy to think what the rest of the world is thinking.
How dare you?
And
That's without merit.
finally, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, who made $31 million last year, thinks wealth inequality is a problem. But while Dimon is worried about growing wealth inequality, he reprimanded Elizabeth Warren and deflected questions about his $31 million pay package by saying, I have nothing to do with it.
As chair and CEO, he has nothing to do with anything.
No,
Jamie
nothing.
Dimon also that
Yeah,
if you get a chance to watch that full 60 minutes,
yeah.
it's a brilliant art of salesmanship and persuasion that he simultaneously recognizes every problem and can do nothing to solve
Right.
any problems. It's amazing.
Maybe if he got $32 million a year, he could figure some shit
But he
out.
doesn't have anything to do with that.
No, that's true.
Stop it.
All right. We're done. We're done eating our biz nuggets. Let's move on. Hey, it's time for Matt Makes, everybody.
Put the time on the clock. Here we go.
Ready?
Matt makes a new job.
Oh, okay. I'm ready for this.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
So I've been thinking a lot, and I like Free Float Media, the company that you and I started.
Yes, I like it.
But I also really want to be a board member somewhere
Okay.
because it seems to me a fairly stable way to make a decent amount of money without taking responsibility for very much.
I like it.
So I went investigating. Number one, I want to be on a board. Number two, I want to get paid lots of money for said board. And number three, I do not want to work hard. These are my criteria
Yeah.
for
Perfect Gen X mantra there.
my board for my board job transition. So, prospective employers, if you're listening,
Yeah.
first and foremost, I went through a bunch of data to see, okay, where can I get paid as a board member?
Mm-hmm.
The number one place to get paid as a board member is Tesla.
Oh,
Now,
really?
this is average board member pay in 2018. And the average board member at Tesla made like close to 200 million. And then I was
Wait,
like,
what?
that makes
Really?
no sense, right? Like that makes
Okay.
zero sense. And the
No, it's
reason
pretty high.
why that makes no sense is because Elon Musk is on the board of Tesla.
Oh.
And I'm looking at how much they got awarded. And Elon Musk got awarded $2 billion
Oof.
in a long-term contract. So that makes no sense. So I had to like, all right, get rid of Tesla. Let's see.
Get rid of Tesla.
What else is there? Because you can see just in the straight up data, Tesla is like way out there, like a way outlier. So number one, remove Tesla.
Okay.
This is how
So you're not going to work for Tesla.
I'm not going to work for Tesla. It's not going to happen. When I get rid of Tesla, there's still this massive conglomerate of nonsense. Like there's a bunch of companies and there's a bunch of, it's impossible for me to pick one. And this is all about me filtering and targeting exactly where I want to work because because my criteria are I want to make a lot of money and I don't want to work that hard and I want to be on a board. So what I needed to do was I needed to focus. I chose to focus on boards that are not independent, okay? And they are in controlled companies that do have independent members. So,
wow, okay. So you're really going for a free ride there. All right.
I am literally looking for the freest ride possible. If I wanted to be a board member and work hard, what the hell would I do that for? Why would I do that? I could join a board of a company that's controlled by the CEO or the founder or whatever.
Like Facebook.
Like Facebook, but has independent members on the board. So then all I need to do is I have one interview with the CEO, the controlling shareholder, and I can possibly get a job. So when I do that, when I do that criteria, this is what I get. A shit show. There's so many companies for whom this actually is relevant. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
In a mess of companies, it includes Amazon and Berkshire and Facebook. These are companies with dominant shareholders, like single dominant shareholders, and independent board members.
Right.
So it's a mess. It's a total mess. Okay. So number 3, focus on boards that I don't have to work that hard on because they have less controversies. Like,
so not Facebook.
So not Facebook anymore, because Facebook, I'm just going to get yelled at by everyone because
Public
they're going to
shaming.
say you're a terrible human being. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So now I just want to focus on companies. I wanted to eliminate a bunch of companies, so I focused on the ones where there is no controversy. No one cares about them.
Where's that?
Number 1, can you guess which board is my number 1 target using these filters?
Maybe a nice family-run company like Hershey's.
You would think so, but it's incorrect. My number 1 company is Salesforce.
Oh yeah, well,
Salesforce.
Yeah, pretty progressive CEO there, founder, right?
If you're listening, Salesforce, I am a 40-something co-founder of a media company that no one cares about with deep experience in environmental, social governance things.
True. I can vouch for that.
Deep experience.
Yeah.
I am willing to take the sacrificial position of a nearly $600,000 a year board slot on your board.
Stranger things have happened, Matt. I think you'd be a good director, actually, at Salesforce. I think CEO Mark would like you, honestly.
I think I got a shot.
And I think of all companies that I'm aware of in my former work as an analyst, they would probably welcome an ESG perspective at a company like that, right? I mean, these people, they're not out of it over at Salesforce. They know a little bit what's going on.
And just so you know, if Salesforce doesn't work out, VMware, Micron, ServiceNow,
anyone. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to be one of my new goals here at Free Float Media. I'm gonna actively support your campaign to sit on the board, because what I'm hoping that comes out of it is like a summer full of meatless meat patties that you're going to serve me with your newfound riches.
Oh, it wasn't Monday.
All right. Good talking to everybody. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, whatever. You do better at this, Matt. You say it.
Subscribe, rate us, get us wherever you get your stuff.
Tell your friends, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, pass this along. We'll talk
We'll
to
see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Damien.
Thanks, Matt.